So last time we left off with this the kilo converter, and let's just kind of go through that real quick. Um, so just kind of a little bit of refresher. So we basically have two Java X variables, object variables that we create as a global variable at the very top. One is a text field and one is a label. And then we actually go into our public static void main and we launch the apps, which again automatically kicks off the start. And there we create a label, and we instantiate it as a new label, enter the distance in kilometers. And then we say kilo text field equals instantiate as a new field. So this global variable up here, we go ahead and instantiate it right here. And again, since it's global, all of the different methods inside this project have access to it. I create a button that has convert on it, and then I go ahead and my button, I use the set on action method, and in there I'm going to instantiate a new calc button handler. Okay, so that's basically, it's going to create a new object, a calc button handler. That result label up above, I instantiate as a new label. It's got nothing in it. I go ahead and create an H box, a horizontal box. I instantiate as a new H box. It's going to have a padding of 10. We're going to put in the prompt label and the kilo text field. We're going to create a vertical box, a V box, instantiate as a new V box. It's going to have padding of 10. And we're going to put in the H box, which has the prompt label and the kilo field, the calc button, and the result label. We go ahead and set the V box to align everything in center. We set the padding of the V box to 10, so outside of the box, it's going to have a 10 pixels. On the inside, it's also going to have 10. That's what these 10s up here do. We go ahead and put the V box in the scene. We put the scene in the stage, and then we basically set the title and rerun it. Now, down here is our class calc button handler. That's the same name that we have up here. So we're creating a new class. What type of a class is it? Well, it's going to implement the event handler. And it's going to basically handle any action event. That's what this is. So it's going to basically convert, or I can't think of the term. It basically makes this event handler like an action event, so it can handle those. And it has the handle event, which automatically gets executed when we click on something. In this case, we're actually going to do something. We're going to do some type of event. In this case, we're going to click, and it automatically executes this handle method, where it creates a variable called kilometers. It's a double. It's basically going to be equal to whatever we get from the kilo text field and convert it to a double. Then we're going to basically create another variable, miles, which is a double, and we're going to make it equal to kilometers times that calculation there, and then we're going to throw that in the result label. So very simple. When we run this, hello, there we go. Oh, now we're getting that error. Shoot. There we go. And now I go ahead and type in kilometers, and it converts it to 59.6 miles. Again, this program is still running. It's running until we basically close the actual stage, which is the window. But right now it's still running. So I can type in another number and click convert. And again, it's going to keep running that until we actually click this X, and then that actually stops the run of the program. Okay, so a little bit of review from last time. Over on page 803, we've got these what are called anonymous inner classes and the lambda expressions. Now we kind of covered lambda in a previous chapter, and a lambda is kind of a way to make a nice shortcut, so you can really kind of shorten up the process in just a few lines. And so it says in there when we use an anonymous inner class, you'll notice that each program's event handler classes are instantiated only once. When a class is instantiated only once in a program, you can use an anonymous inner class instead of a regular class definition. So we kind of seen this in a previous chapter, like I said. So let's open up the anon inner class kilometer. So this anon inner class kilo converter. And again, we've got all of the different, we're importing all of the different JavaX controls that we need. Our class is the anon inner class kilo converter, and again, it extends the application. We have two global variable fields again. Now, this is pretty much just like the kilo converter we just looked at, except we're going to see a little difference. So we got our label, we got our kilo text field, we got our button. Now here's where it gets different. Right here I say calc button.setOnAction new event handler. And here's the action event. Notice what that has right there. We're not doing the actual, we're not creating a new class down below. Instead of creating a class, we're just going to instantiate and basically do everything we need to do right here and create the object. The event handler object right here. We've got the public void handle right inside of this guy. Notice that we've got a open paren right here. See this open parenthesis? Notice where the closing parenthesis is. So everything inside of these two parentheses actually go to the setOnAction method for the calc button. So instead of calling a class and instantiating a class, we're just going to basically do that all right here within, this is the anonymous inner class circle. So here's our public void handle. So when the action event happens, it's going to automatically execute this method. And again, the same exact code is inside of, that was inside of that class in the previous one, is inside of this anonymous class circle. So there we get our result. We create a result label. We got our H box, V box. We go ahead and set the position to center. We then set the padding, and then we put the V box in the scene in the stage. We set the title and the show. But again, that's where the program ends. All of the class code is basically inside of the setOnAction method. So again, kind of a nice little shortcut. And again, it runs the same exact way. When we run it, it comes up. I can type in a number, click on it, and it converts it and does the same exact execution. So it says in this version of the program, we have eliminated the definition of the calc button handler class. Instead of lines 44 through 58, we instantiated the anonymous inner circle that implements the event handler interface. Okay? And we registered the object as a calc buttons control event handler. So we basically set it inside of the action event of the setOnAction method. Kind of a nice little shortcut. Any questions on that? Okay, on page 806, we've got this lambda kilo converter. And this is another nice little shortcut. So let's open up the lambda kilo converter. And again, this is identical to the previous application until we get to the calc button setOnAction. Now here's our lambda configuration. Remember in the previous chapter we had that dash and then the greater than symbol looks like an arrow? That's the lambda. So what we do is it basically, the lambda says, hey, we've got an event and just go ahead and process the event. Boom. And notice same exact situation. When I go to that parenthesis, everything is inside of the parenthesis inside the set on action. Now, the one thing we're missing now is the event handler and the method handle. Look what it does. It says when we click on the event, it's going to automatically execute whatever's inside of these parentheses. So it's going to go, that's where it basically creates the kilometers and grabs whatever's in the text field and converts it to a double, throws it in that variable. Down here, it basically creates a variable miles, makes it equal to kilometers times 0.6214, and then the result label is basically displayed with that information. So again, nice little shortcut. Again, these are fine and these are great, but a lot of times they're we're used to seeing classes and that type of thing, and instantiating classes, and if that's what you're used to, then maybe stick with that. Again, this is a nice shortcut. This really cuts out a lot of code. This makes a lot of sense too, because it says, hey, on the calc button, we're going to set an action and we're going to have an event. And when that event is kicked off, it's going to do everything inside these parentheses. So, and again, it runs the same exact way. When you run it, you can again type in a number, click convert, and we get the same exact results. What do you think? A little easier? Is it a little easier to understand, harder to understand? Yeah. So it makes, like I said, it really cuts out a lot of code. So we just got to put event right here because it says, hey, I'm an event handler. So we have to basically say that we're going to have some event that kicks this code off. Okay, at bottom of page 808, we've got the border pane layout container. So what this is going to do, we're going to see in chapter 13, we're going to start getting into some web page design stuff where it basically, hold on a sec. Anyways, we're going to see in chapter 13, we're going to do some actual CSS and cascading style sheets, which is basically formatting web pages. We're actually going to do some CSS and actually be able to change the formatting and some of the different fonts and font types and that type of thing, utilizing CSS in our JavaX program. Well, this one, it says the border pane container displays its contents in 5 regions. The regions are known as top, bottom, left, right, and center. So, the JavaX provides a layout container named border pane that makes it easy to achieve this style of organization. We don't have to use all the regions, so we don't have to use the top, bottom, left, right. We don't have to use them all. We can actually use just the ones we need. Top of page 810, there are 3 constructors to the border pane. We've got a no art constructor. We can put one that says center. We can have one that basically has center, top, right, left. So we can actually put whatever we need in the constructor to make it work. Probably the best thing to do is let's just go ahead and open up border pane demo 1. No, it's just border pane demo, sorry. In the book it's border pane demo 1. But for us it's just border pane demo. Okay, so we look at all the imports, we can see all the controls we're basically bringing in, and notice we have one called border pane. Okay. And again, we always extend the application, which is part of the JavaX. There's our launch, which automatically kicks off our start. And so let's look at this. So we've got a button, and it's called center button, and we're going to instantiate a new button that says this is the center. We got another button called top button, bottom button, left button, and right button. Then we're going to create an H box for each one of those. So we got H box, center H box, top H box, bottom H box, left V box, and right V box. So 3 H boxes and 2 V boxes. And notice that we're putting the buttons inside of each one of those. The button control object gets put inside of each one of those. So the center button goes in the center box, H box. The top button goes into the top H box, and so on and so forth. Then I come in here and say top H box dot set alignment position dot center, and the bottom H box dot set alignment position dot center. We do that just for the top and the bottom, which are basically, they're both in H boxes. Then we create what's called our border pane. So here's border pane. Lowercase border pane is instantiated as a new border pane. Then I come in here and say border pane dot set center. We're going to put the center H box in there. Border pane dot set top. We're going to put the top box in there. Set bottom, the bottom H box. Set left, the left V box, and the set right, the right V box. Then I create my scene and I load the border pane in that. Now again, remember, this is just like I said, it's like putting boxes inside of boxes. First thing we do is we create some buttons. Put those buttons into H boxes and V boxes. We put those H boxes and V boxes into a border pane. The border pane is going to lay it out on the screen in a certain format. Then we take that scene and load it into a stage. We're not setting the title this time, and then we go ahead and show the stage. So this is what it looks like when we run it. There it is. This is top, this is left, this is center, this is right, this is bottom. They don't do anything. We can click on them. The buttons don't do anything, but kind of a nice way to lay things out on the screen in a certain format. Let's take a look at Border Pane Demo 2. So here we got center button, top button, bottom, left, right. Here's our H box and V boxes. We go ahead and set the center. And then now look what we did here. We created a border pane is equal to a new border pane, but look at, we instantiate it with a constructor with the center H box. Then we go ahead and load the set top H box, set bottom, left, right. And then we set the scene, and then we set the scene, we put the scene on the stage, and we show the stage. So what's going to happen now? If I look over here, it says so if I just have the border pane and I use the center, it says this constructor accepts one argument. The node that is passed, the argument is placed in the border's center region. So if we just have one element or one parameter, when we basically create the constructor, it basically says I'm going to default and put this in the center. And then these are put in a specific area because of the border pane. And we basically, so again, same exact results. Yep. This is left, right, bottom, and that's center. Let's take a look at Border Pane Demo 3. Same exact thing all the way up to where we create the border pane. Now this one we say, border pane is instantiated as a new border pane. We got center H box, top, right, bottom, left. And it says that when we put those in there, this constructor accepts the defined nodes as arguments, one to place in each regions. And I believe we have to put it in that order. I believe we have to put it in center, top, right, bottom, left. And again, when we run it, we pretty much get the same exact results. And those buttons are all placed in the right area. I'm gonna experiment for a second. I'm gonna put the bottom H box in that second position, and then put the top H box in the bottom position. I'm going to see if that is true what I just said when I run it. Notice that? Yeah. This is the bottom is down the top, and this is the top is down the bottom. So it does matter the order in which these are basically loaded into the border pane object for the control, for the constructor. Yeah, it's center, top, right, bottom, left. And notice it actually did just the way we put them in there. It put the bottom H box in the top, and it put the top H box in the bottom position. So any questions on that? So the observable list interface. So it says the observable list interface is a special type of list that can fire an event handler anytime an item in the list changes. So if we look on the top or the middle of page 813, it says here's a few of the observable list methods. We've got add all, clear, remove item, remove all, set all, and size. So let's do this. Let's open up the HBox demo. And in here is where we're using buttons. Okay, but so let's say I'm going to do this. Let's add one more button up here. Let's duplicate line 28. So I'm going to highlight line 28, do a copy, and then paste it right below. I'm going to call this button 4. And make sure you change that to 4 as well. So we have a new control, a new button control called button 4. And this time, I'm going to do this. Where I got HBox, I'm creating a new HBox control. I'm going to get rid of everything after 10. I'm going to delete all that. So with the observable list, what we can then do is we can utilize this thing called the get children. Okay? So how that works is once I have my HBox or VBox created, I can come down here and say HBox.get children. Fat fingers tonight. Get capital C H I know what I did wrong. Box.get children. And inside there, or after that, I'm going to type dot add all, left parenthesis, and that's where I'm going to put button 1, button 2, button 3, and lastly button 4. So all of these JavaXF FX controls has a get children method built into that. And in there I can say add all, and then inside the parentheses I can put all of the, in this case, buttons. They could be labels, they could be other things as well, and I can actually add them to the HBox. Now notice I left a 10 in there to leave to make sure I left the spacing in there. And then basically the padding is set to 10, and then it's going to basically run. So if we run this, we should get the same exact results as we saw before, and there it is, button 1, 2, 3, and 4. Except last time we ran this, we saw button 1, 2, 3. So we close this. Now, Another thing that we can do is we have remove, and what we could do there is we could actually say hbox dot get children dot remove, and there I'm going to say button 2, then put a semicolon at the end. So now when we run it, it just shows button 1, 3, and 4. 2 is gone. So the nice thing about these observable lists is we can utilize these methods instead of adding them via the constructor. We can add them after the fact, and we can actually remove them after the fact as well. Clear removes all of the items from the list. Remove all one or more items of the list specified by the variable argument. We can do that as well. Set all clears the current contents of the list and adds all of the items specified by the variable. So again, I could do set all, which basically removes all the items that are there and then basically puts in new ones. I can do size, returns the number of items in the list. So I could actually do this and do syso and hbox dot get children dot size, and now when I run it, I see 3 down here. So it's got three items or 3 children in the hbox. If I'm going to basically comment out that where it says remove button 2, and now when I run it, I should see 4 right here. And sure enough, there's a 4, and there's 4 buttons, so there's 4 children. It might be handy to find out how many items or how many children there are in a FX control. Any questions?